You're listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. Discover ways to secure your home, protect your family, and embrace your role as a protector parent. Welcome, friend. I'm Andy Murphy, the creator of the Secure Dad. This podcast serves to help families become proactive in their safety. The information I share on this podcast is for general information purposes only. My goal is to empower you to make safer decisions for yourself and your family. Today, I'm discussing what we can do as parents to prevent our children from being kidnapped, and I speak specifically to parents with custody issues and what they can do to protect their kids. All of that and more ahead on the Secure Dad Podcast. Finding out that you've been hacked or had your identity stolen can be one of the most stressful times in your life. I've collaborated with Josh Summers of All Things Secured to bring you our guide called Help, I've Been Hacked. This free checklist will walk you through what you need to do to regain control of your accounts in the moments after discovering the problem. The quicker you can act, the better off you're going to be. To download your free copy of this checklist, tap on the link in today's show notes. If you want to know how to protect your home in a smart, holistic way, then you need to run a home security assessment. If you've never done one, don't worry, I'm here to help. The Secure Dad Family Home Security Assessment was created specifically for parents to protect their loved ones. This 12-page guide offers more than 100 tips to level up your home security. And it's made for people with all skill levels. Heck, if I can do it, you can do it. Get your copy of the Secure Dad Family Home Security Assessment at the link in today's show notes. It'll only set you back $6, so it's well worth your investment. So let's talk about a really hard topic. Let's talk about a parent's worst nightmare. One of our children being abducted. It is a terrifying scenario that triggers anxiety and sleepless nights. The good news is that we can take control of this fear and educate ourselves and our children to minimize the chance that this could happen to us. Now, this podcast is not going to go over every single thing that you need to know, but I'm going to show you how to look at this problem in a way that maybe no one has ever explained to you before. This show serves to give you a little bit more in-depth information and give you a different point of view than you will find in a basic Google search. I want to give you more than that today. So we're going to start at looking at who might take our child. Many times parents think that their children can be taken at any time, at anywhere. Random violent kidnappings do happen, but they are rare. That's why they make national news, because they are so infrequent. And I do recognize that if this happens to your child, then none of the stats matter. The person most likely to abduct your child is known to them, but may not be known to you. Let me say that again. The person most likely to abduct your child is known to them, your child, but may not be known to you. This could be a family member, a person that they met online, or an adult friend in their life. Generally speaking, child abductions follow a pattern, which are these 3 steps: target selection, grooming or enticing, and physically taking them. So we're going to break down this cycle at every single phase and talk about what we can do to prevent it. The first part of the process begins with someone who has the intent of taking a child. The intent could be to reunite them with an estranged family. It could be for sexual exploitation. It could be for acts of brutality or murder. There could be 100 reasons why a person intends to kidnap a child. Regardless of the intent, regardless of the deeper motive, we have to make our kids hard targets for these predators. So how do we do that? We educate them. Teaching our children that not everyone we meet online is to be trusted is where we start. That's not where we were in 1985 or 1995 when we were kids, but that's where we start today in 2023. I just had Alyssa Gibiorchek on the show, and she fights human trafficking across the globe, and she told us that traffickers use the internet because it's cheap and easy. It's cheap and easy to find kids online. That's it. It's an economic decision. Chris Hadnagy of the Innocent Lives Foundation has been on the show, and he told us that on every platform where kids are likely to go, predators are already there. So protecting our kids from a physical abduction can start online. A big thing that we need to understand, that we didn't have this growing up, our kids have it today, is the fact that our online contacts on gaming platforms and in social media are called friends. But just because a platform calls someone a friend, that does not mean that they are really friends and should have personal access to us and to our children. Setting the boundary that online contacts are just that, online contacts, they're not real friends, that's key. Because at the end of the day, we don't know who these people are. We only know who they want us to think they are. Also, we need to teach them not to overshare online through social media or YouTube or group text, whatever it is. The more important information that our kids put out into a digital world, the better profile a predator can make to entice them. So talk about what information is not to be shared online, which includes your age, birthday, where you go to school, where you have your after-school job. Don't take photos and revealing clothing, things like that. Now, once a predator has selected a target, they move on to the grooming stage or to the enticing stage. In episode 205 of this podcast, I do an entire show on the 6 stages of grooming. I highly recommend that you listen to that episode because it follows how groomers work and the red flags you need to look for. But what we need to understand about this stage in the kidnapping process boils down to this. It is easier to set up a false relationship with a child and entice them to come with the predator than it is to just violently take them off the street. It is much easier for the predator to make the child think that they are best friends and that they are going to go do something fun and positive, and they are going to trick that child into wanting to leave with them because it is easier and people are less likely to notice. So the last stage in this simplified kidnapping process is physically taking the child. This can happen in a myriad of different ways, but we'll focus on one, the meetup. The kidnapper will ask the child to meet them somewhere where the abduction can take place. Again, this may not be violent and may just look like 2 people walking down the street. So the meetup will be at a park, at a store, at a bus stop, some place that doesn't raise a red flag. And the reason for meeting could be something simple, or it could be a plan between the two to run away and live happily ever after. That's happened before. So the kidnapper isn't going to be blunt about these plans. The child will be tricked into what is really going on. Aaron Limbo from Jack of All Tradecraft was on the show last year, and he told us this story of 2 teenage girls who were trying to board a plane to New York City for a fake modeling gig. This was kind of extreme, but the parents were unaware that their kids were doing something like this and that they had made it all the way to the airport before an airline employee asked some very important life-saving questions and stopped them from getting on the plane. And I bring this up to say it's important to establish that you as the parent have the ultimate authority when it comes to where your kids go and with whom they spend their time. I know, this is the age-old struggle that all parents have, and we had it too as kids. We had it too, we lived through it, we survived. But this is where being honest about the dangers your kids may face is crucial. If you think your child is mature enough, show them the news stories of kids who were enticed into leaving with someone that they thought they knew that turned out to be a kidnapper. Educating our kids will help them to make more informed decisions and be a harder target for a predator. Next, I want to discuss kidnappings that involve parents. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, in 2023, 63% of all Amber Alerts were for family abduction cases. That means that a family member took a child, most likely a parent, who didn't have custody and didn't want to comply with any sort of court order. So they stepped out and they kidnapped their own child. And by the way, this does not mean that the abduction was non-life-threatening. Now, in most cases, we see divorced parents fighting over custody. This is an enormous and complex issue that is very unique to every family and each state's laws and each circumstance. But a simplified version of this is that one parent is to have sole custody of their child, and the other parent is prevented by the court from having custody or even contact. But if you are the parent who has custody in a case like this, you need to do some very important things if you truly feel like the other parent is a threat to take your child. And only do this if you feel like this is a very real threat. First, you need to explain to your children that they are not to go with that other parent under any circumstances. If the other parent makes contact, they need to tell you immediately. Second, you need to alert your children's school, daycare, church, or any other place that they frequent that the other parent is not to have access to them. It may be an emotional or even embarrassing thing to disclose, but you need to do that for the safety of your child if you feel like there's a chance for an abduction. Third, you need to establish a relationship with a law enforcement officer who is familiar with your case. Chances are, if you're at this point, the police have been involved already. Get the officer's business card so that if something happens, you can reach out directly to that officer who knows you, knows your kids, knows your story, knows the other parent, and that way that officer can make better decisions for you faster. Fourth, if it's legal for you to do so, I want you to hire a private investigator on your own to do a workup on the other parent. Have them find out where they're living, the car that they drive, their license plate, where they work, and if they've changed jobs, cars, license plates, residence, all that sort of information. Yes, the other parent may be required by the law to submit that information, but they may not keep it updated, or they may be lying to the court. This is information that you need to know personally. This is what you have to find out. This will help you stay informed of this threat to your family, and if something looks off, you can be proactive. If the worst happens and the other parent takes your children, you now have vital information that you can hand to that officer that you already know who knows your case, and that is a huge step forward in getting a response. So I know that was a lot of information. I hope this helps you think proactively about protecting your children. Please go back and listen to episode 205 of this podcast about the 6 stages of grooming. It is absolutely worth your time. Well, that wraps up this edition of the Secure Dad podcast for today. Thank you, friend, for listening. Make your home safer with the Secure Dad Family Home Security Assessment. Download your copy today for less than the price of a fancy cup of coffee or a dozen free-range eggs. Check out the link in today's show notes. I'm Andy Murphy, and until next time, take care and be secure.